Welcome back. Now, Pakistan has slammed the worsening Indian atrocities in occupied Kashmir. At a weekly press briefing in Islamabad, Foreign Office spokesperson cited the killing of an unarmed Kashmiri civilian by the Indian troops in front of his toddler grandson.
Yesterday, the world watched in horror. Images of the old man murdered in front of his grandson. The baby sat on the body, his clothes drenched in the blood of his grandfather as Indian-occupied forces fired bullets. Aisha Faruqi said the heart-wrenching picture of a 3-year-old boy sitting on top of his martyred grandfather by Indian troops in Sopore will forever trouble those who believe in humanity and fundamental freedoms. The memory of the terrifying events lives on with the Kashmiri toddler.
बड़े पापा थे ना सुबह आपके साथ उनको क्या किया हाँ किसने मारा
The pictures of the horrific incident have gone viral. Human rights activists across the world are criticizing New Delhi for its oppression and killings of Kashmiri civilians. Faruqi also slammed India for its new domicile law aimed at changing the demography of the occupied valley.
Moreover, in Indian-occupied Kashmir, extrajudicial killings have become a new norm as 175 civilians were martyred in the first half of this year. Reports compiled by Indus News reveal that the Indian military carried out 107 operations in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. During the illegal cordon and search operations, at least 48 structures have been destroyed so far in 2020 alone. There were 55 instances of internet blockades recorded in the last 6 months. Media personnel in occupied Kashmir suffered intimidation and harassment by Indian authorities, with several incidents involving the beating of journalists. The occupied valley has been under a crushing lockdown and communications blackout for the past 333 days. Moving on, at least 113 people have died after a landslide caused a jade mine collapse in Myanmar's Kachin state. Rescue officials say several others are still missing. The fire service said the miners were collecting stones in the jade-rich Hacha area when a muddy wave caused by heavy rain buried them. It said there is an unknown number of people still buried under the mound of refuse. Deadly landslides and other accidents are common in the poorly regulated mines of Hacha. Now, the United States has reported record new cases of COVID-19 with over 52,000 people testing positive in the past 24 hours. 706 more people have died in the country, taking the tally to over 128,000. In Brazil, 1,016 people lost their lives overnight, with the death toll crossing 60,000. The virus has so far killed more than 515,000 people worldwide and infected 10.6 million. More details in this report.
The second wave of the new coronavirus has caught many countries off guard as they were trying to put stagnated economies back on track. North and South America are now accounting for around 100,000 new cases of the disease every day. Brazil, Mexico, Colombia are the worst hit in Latin America, while the US states of Arizona, California, Florida, and Texas reported record spikes. California's governor has banned indoor activities at restaurants, movie theaters, and other facilities for at least 3 more weeks.
Bottom line is the spread of this virus continues at a rate that is particularly concerning. We're seeing parts of the state where we are seeing an increase in not only the total number of positive cases, but a significant increase in the total number of people that are getting tested that are testing positive.
Meanwhile, Australia continues to struggle to contain new outbreaks despite suburban checkpoints by the police. Japan too is grappling with COVID's second coming after Tokyo confirmed more than 100 new infections, the highest daily tally in 2 months. The World Health Organization says nations who fail to use every mechanism available to combat the still raging coronavirus will struggle to beat it.
We're concerned that some countries have not used all the tools at their disposal and have taken a fragmented approach. These countries face a long, hard road ahead. But one of the lessons of the pandemic is that no matter what situation a country is in, it can be turned around. It's never too late.
In Asia, China appears to have put a lid on its second wave as only 3 new cases were reported in and around Beijing. Meanwhile, South Korea has reported 54 new cases as the second wave continues to spread beyond the capital region and reach cities like Gwangju.
In Pakistan, 78 more people have died of COVID-19 in the past 24 hours, raising the death toll to 4,473. The Ministry of Health says over 4,300 new cases were detected in the last 24 hours, taking the tally to over 217,000. The Health Ministry said more than 104,000 people have recovered from the virus so far, making it a significant count. It said more than 2,700 patients across the country are critical. The province of Sindh is badly hit by the virus with nearly 87,000 infections, while Punjab has reported nearly 78,000 cases. In northwestern Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the tally of patients is nearly 27,000, while there are nearly 11,000 cases in Balochistan. The capital city, Islamabad, has reported over 13,000 cases, while Azad Jammu and Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan have over 2,600 cases. China has urged the United Kingdom to stop interfering in Hong Kong's affairs after London offered citizenship to nearly 3 million residents of the city. At a news conference, Foreign Ministry spokesman Chow Li-Jan says that the UK's offer violates the international law. Chow warned that the British side would face consequences entailed from the matter. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson made the offer, describing the new security law for Hong Kong as a breach of the 1985 Sino-British Declaration. Meanwhile, the United States House of Representatives has approved new Hong Kong-related sanctions. The measure, which was passed unanimously, penalizes banks that do business with Chinese officials. It will have to be approved by the Senate before going to President Donald Trump for the final approval. Turkey says criticized U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's remarks on the country's iconic Hagia Sophia Museum. In a statement, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Hami Aksoy said Ankara is astonished by the press release issued by the U.S. State Department. The statement said Turkey protects all of its cultural assets, including Hagia Sophia, without any discrimination. It said any issue regarding Hagia Sophia is Ankara's internal affair. Yesterday, Pompeo urged Turkey to maintain the status of Hagia Sophia in Istanbul as a museum. He cautioned that a change in its status would diminish its legacy. Hagia Sophia was the main cathedral in Christendom for 900 years before becoming a mosque for 500 years until 1934. Turkey's Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu says France should apologize for making false claims about a naval incident in the Mediterranean. Speaking to reporters in Berlin, Cavusoglu said false allegations against Turkey are unacceptable. He was responding to French accusations that Turkish warships were aggressive towards French vessels participating in NATO maritime security mission last month. France has accused Turkey of seeking to inspect a cargo vessel suspecting of carrying arms to Libya. Turkey has dismissed the allegations as groundless, insisting its vessels only observe the warship. On Wednesday, France suspended its participation in the NATO mission until its concerns are addressed. The spat is the latest flare-up between the two countries, which have exchanged barbs in recent days over their roles in the Libyan conflict. France is suspected of backing warlord Khalifa Haftar against the UN-recognized government of Tripoli, which is backed by Turkey. Turkey says it has killed 2 militants of the Kurdistan Workers' Party in northern Syria. The Defense Ministry says the fighters were killed during Operation Peace Spring. It said the militants were killed near Turkey's southern border. The ministry said it will not stop the operations against militants in the region. Since 2016, Turkey has launched a trio of operations across its border into northern Syria. Ankara holds the fighter group responsible for the deaths of some 40,000 people in a 30-year terror campaign. Now, the Vatican has summoned the US and Israeli ambassadors to express concerns about Tel Aviv's plans to annex the occupied West Bank. A Vatican statement said the Holy See's Secretary of State, Cardinal Pietro, held meetings with both ambassadors. Perelin said the annexation may further jeopardize the search for peace between Israelis and Palestinians. The Vatican statement reiterated its position in support of a two-state solution. It appealed to Israelis and Palestinians to reopen the process of direct negotiations on the basis of United Nations resolutions. Israel has announced to annex the Palestinian territories in July. United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has expressed shock at the unearthing of mass graves in Libya's Darhouna and the discovery of mines planted in Tripoli. In a phone call with Libyan Prime Minister Fayez al-Sarraj, Guterres called for inclusive and transparent investigations. Guterres' office said al-Sarraj indicated his commitment to UN-led dialogue within the Libyan Joint Military Commission. He also expressed his interest in a political solution based on elections. Guterres and al-Sarraj also discussed the need to reopen blocked oil terminals and fields. The UN chief also reiterated support for Libya's efforts to address the COVID-19 pandemic. More news coming up after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now in Ethiopia, the death toll from protests that followed the murder of famed musician Hacha Lu has risen to 81. Regional police said the dead included 78 civilians and 3 members of the security forces. Dozens others were wounded in violent ethnic clashes in Addis Ababa and the surrounding Oromia region. Police used tear gas to disperse the crowd outside the hospital, and gunshots were heard in the city, where people set fire to tires. Leading opposition politician Jawar Mohammed has also been arrested in a move that may inflame protests further. In a televised address, Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed called the murder an evil act backed by domestic and foreign enemies. A London court has ruled that the British government recognizes Juan Guido as Venezuela's president instead of Nicolas Maduro. It comes as the court decided which leader controls $2 billion worth of Venezuelan central bank gold stored in the Bank of England. High Court Judge Nigel Tair gave the judgment, saying the government has formally recognized Guido as the constitutional interim president of Venezuela. He said that due to the one voice and act of state doctrines, the court is precluded from investigating the validity of Guido's act. In a statement, lawyers for Venezuela Central Bank said they will appeal the judgment. In Mexico, 24 people have been killed in an armed attack on a drug rehabilitation facility in the central city of Irapuato. Police say the gunman also wounded 7 others. Police say 3 of the wounded are in a critical condition. They said the rehab center was not formally registered. Guanajuato's Attorney General Carlos Zamarripa said he has designated a specialized team to probe the incident. The attack is one of the worst mass slayings since President Andrés Manuel López Obrador took office 19 months ago. It was also the second such attack in Irapuato in a month. Mexico has praised the new North Atlantic trade pact between the United States, Mexico and Canada. U.S. President Donald Trump replaced the former trade arrangement between the countries, the NAFTA, with the USMCA. President Andrés Obrador said the accord will attract foreign investment and allow economies to recover from COVID-19 recession. In a speech marking his second term, President Obrador said the new agreement will create jobs and curb unemployment in Mexico.
Today's trade agreement between Mexico, United States and Canada took effect at an opportune time because being neighbors with the strongest economy on the planet in the current circumstances of global recession of the economies will help us boost our productive activities and create new jobs. This is the main reason for my next trip to the United States of North America and my meeting with President Donald Trump. It is a fact that the treaty will attract more foreign investment.
Now, the Pentagon says the Taliban have been working actively with Al-Qaeda in Russia to accelerate the withdrawal of United States troops from Afghanistan. In a report, the Pentagon said Al-Qaeda's regional affiliate in Afghanistan has an enduring interest in attacking the U.S. troops. The report said Al-Qaeda poses a limited threat to U.S. personnel, and its partners in Afghanistan are assisting the Taliban in some attacks. It said Al-Qaeda will focus on ensuring its safe haven remains viable. Meanwhile, the Pentagon said Russia has politically supported the Taliban to cultivate influence with the group and to limit Western military presence. It said Moscow supports the Doha deal in the hope that reconciliation will prevent a long-term U.S. military presence. The report said the U.S. expects the Taliban to fulfill its commitments under the deal. U.S. Special Envoy for Afghan Reconciliation Zalmay Khalilzad has thanked Pakistan for its ongoing efforts to advance the peace process. The U.S. Embassy in Islamabad says this was convened to Pakistani leadership during Khalilzad's recent visit. Ambassador Zalmay Khalilzad and U.S. International Development Finance Corporation CEO Adam visited Islamabad on July the 1st. The U.S. delegation met Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa, Foreign Minister Shahmehmood Qureshi and other senior officials. In a statement, the American embassy in Islamabad said stakeholders are extremely close to starting intra-Afghan talks. It said they are also aware of the importance of resolving the remaining issues quickly. Boiler discussed investment opportunities to strengthen Pakistan's economy and contribute to peace and stability in the region. The UN Security Council has adopted a resolution calling for a humanitarian pause to all conflicts to boost the fight against COVID-19. The document is aimed at supporting an appeal by Secretary-General Antonio Guterres to declare a global ceasefire. Germany's envoy to the UN, Christoph Hessen, has said the Security Council members voted unanimously to adopt the resolution. The resolution calls on all parties to armed conflicts to engage immediately in a durable humanitarian pause for at least 90 days. The Council also requested the Secretary-General to instruct peacekeeping forces to provide support to host country authorities to contain the pandemic. The resolution was submitted to the UN Security Council in April but was not passed due to conflict over the draft between the United States and China. In India, the COVID-19 infections have now surpassed 600,000 with nearly 18,000 deaths so far. Officials say 434 deaths were reported in the past 24 hours. The Health Ministry said the increase in cases presents a severe challenge for India's overburdened healthcare system. Amid rising coronavirus infections, India announced another phase of easing restrictions called Unlock 2 on Monday. This would allow for more economic activities to resume. Experts say the number of cases in India could surpass 1 million before the end of July. New Zealand's Health Minister David Clark has resigned after criticism of the government's response to COVID-19 and his own breaches of lockdown rules. He said continuing in his role was distracting from the government's overall response to the pandemic. The former minister said he takes full responsibility for decisions made and taken during his time as the Minister of Health. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has accepted Clark's resignation. Ardern said public confidence is the leadership is essential, which Clark lost due to his actions and lapses. Education Minister Chris Hipkins will take charge of the health department until the country's elections in September. European stocks are trading higher as global markets received a boost from news of the development of a potential COVID-19 vaccine. The pan-European stock 600 climbed over 1%, with banks jumping 4% to lead gains as all sectors and major bourses entered positive territory. Germany's DAX rose almost 2%, while London's FTSE gained almost 1%. France's CAC 40 climbed over 1.5%. Now let's have a look at the weather updates across the globe. Well, that's all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus News. Take care.